Hello all. Myself Dr. Achal Kaushik, Computer Science Department, Bhagwan Parshuram Institute of Technology. Today's topic is main memory of a PC. Now, in the previous class or previous unit, we have discussed about the memory hierarchy. In that memory hierarchy, we just try to understand that there are different devices and these devices have their own importance based on their speed, based on the cost, or based on that how we access them. Now, if we just summarize it in the context, we realize that the main important part of your CPU to process the data is that how quickly it can fetch that information into the CPU memory. And for very that reason, the first aspect it starts with that the data is to be searched into the cache memory, and if it is not available in the cache memory, then it should go and search into the main memory. So today's topic, we are going to more deliberate on the main memory. Main memory, as what we have discussed earlier also, that it holds the program and data that is required by the CPU for carrying out all its operation. And the capacity of the computer's memory and the secondary storage, all these things are actually being measured in terms of bytes. If you can recollect, we have discussed that the data is stored in terms of bits, 0 and 1, and the combination of these bits can form a byte. Now, extending that idea that how much memory space we have for a particular purpose, then we have different nomenclature of these storage capacities. So it may be 1 byte that is equivalent to 8 bits, or it may be 1 kilobytes that is equivalent to 1024 bytes. Similarly, we may have megabyte, gigabyte and terabyte. So gigabyte is equal to 1024 megabytes and terabytes are nothing but 1024 gigabytes. So these are the different size capacities in which we generally calculate our memory units. Now, if we just try to figure out how many different types of memory or main memory do we have, so they are basically classified as RAM and ROM, where RAM is further divided into SRAM and DRAM, where ROM is divided into PROM and EPROM. Now, if we discuss about the main memory, so the first thing that what we have seen there is that the main memory is being stored by keeping the location or address which is directly accessible by CPU, and because of that we call it that semiconductor memories are random access memory. So the idea of this random access memory is that any part of the memory can be accessed randomly for the reading and writing purposes. That means we need not to go and search the nearby memory storages to get the data, but directly we have access to that memory location through its address and we can fetch the information from there. And for very that reason, the access time within these semiconductor memory devices is same for each memory location. Now, another aspect of the main memory is that we can read and write both all together with that memory. That means we can read from the memory and we can write to that memory, and that is how we also call it as the RAM. That means any user can write information in the RAM and read information from it irrespective of the location. But as what we have discussed, that main memory is being divided into two types, RAM and ROM. The another part of this main memory, that is the ROM, which is being referred as read-only memory. Basically, we cannot write to this memory. This is only where we can read the data from the read-only memory devices. Now, basically these ROMs are keeping the instructions or data which is being set by the manufacturer while it is being burned. That means any information that is being written on the ROM cannot be changed by the user. We cannot change it. So that means like we used to have the main memory where we can read and write data, but in case of ROM, we only access the data for the reading purposes. Now this is a small memory and also it is permanent memory. Generally, if you can see, you start your computer, then your computer will be getting the power supply to start all the hardware components. Now at that point of time, the first memory access is this ROM, where it keeps the startup instruction of the system when the computer turned on. That means the last instruction in the ROM is being used to load the operating system. Now I hope that we have the idea of the operating system. It is a special computer program which is being loaded into the memory as soon as the computer turned on. The basic idea of using the operating system is that the computer cannot understand our language, English language. So the purpose of translating our instructions into the binary form which a computer can understand from the English, so that is being the role of the operating system. Side by side, operating system is also going to map whatever be the execution take place by the computer into the English language so that we can understand the result produced by the computer. Now, let me come back and discuss about the random access memory first. Now, as what we have discussed, that random access memory, the idea is that we can randomly access its memory locations, but simultaneously we have discussed that it is volatile in nature. That means in case of the power interruption, we may lose out our data. And generally for very that reason, it is being asked that you keep on storing your program or data once you are executing on your system. Now, if we just try to understand a little bit better about what does it mean by volatile memory. So for understanding this concept, first we just try to look at that how the computer handles the information. There are millions of tiny electric circuits, and for every circuit in computer chip there are two possibilities. That's what we have discussed earlier, either 1 or 0, which means either that electric current will pass through that circuit, which will be a state on, and it will be represented by a number or bit 1, or it is the current is not flowing through it, which means the circuit is off and it is represented by a number 0. Now, if we look at our keyboard, then every character we type from it to give the input to the system, then it is basically being translated into 8 bits. As what we have discussed earlier, it is the ASCII code through which every character or number is being mapped to 8 bits or a byte. Now, the point is why information stored in RAM is lost if the power goes off. Now, to understand this concept, let me talk about the character A. The character A in the byte form is being represented as 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Similarly, if we talk about the character B, it would be 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. That means these 8 bits altogether is being fetched from the memory whenever we press the character A, B or the other characters. Now, if we closely look at the column, there are 1 and 0, where 1 is representing the presence of the charge for that cell. And now, as soon as the memory goes off, this cell will be off and we would be having all the bits 0. That means we have lost the data. We are not able to store that data. And that is why we say that the random access memory is volatile in nature. Now, the second aspect in this is that we can use these RAM chips to move our data quickly in and out of the memory for the processing through the CPU. So there are two important types of RAM. One is SRAM, that is static RAM, and the another one is dynamic RAM or DRAM. Basically, the dynamic RAM stores the binary information in the form of electric charge using capacitors and transistors. Now, the binary 1 represented as the presence of charge and binary 0 as the absence of the charge in the capacitor. But as what we know is that the storage charge in a capacitor has a natural tendency of discharge. That means it leaks the charge over the time, and because of that we may lose out the information. For very that reason, in the dynamic RAM we make use of frequent refreshing. That means within a period of 10 to 100 milliseconds, somewhere in between, we have to keep on refreshing the memory. That means we have to keep on maintaining that charge. And for that reason, the dynamic RAM loses its stored information in a very short period of time if not being refreshed, and even when there is a power supply on to them. But on contrary, if we talked about the static RAM, now in that case the values are stored through the traditional flip-flop logic gates, and there we have no concept of losing out information because of leakage of charges, because there are no capacitors, and we can store this information as long as power supply is on. Now if we compare these two types of RAMs, so dynamic RAM is generally cheaper but static RAM is expensive. And because dynamic RAM uses these capacitors and transistors, so they consume less power in comparison to the static RAM. But the dynamic RAM are having low speed in comparison to the static RAM, and only because of that reason generally the main memory is being utilized through the dynamic RAM and the cache memory is being utilized through the static RAM. Now there are other types of RAMs also available which are being used for different purposes. One is VRAM, we also call this video RAM. They are being optimized for video adapter. Generally they act as buffer between CPU and video card adapter. Now that is, they hold the pixel information and other information which is being displayed on the computer monitor. Now basically these chips have two ports, one for the video data that can be returned to the chip. At the same time there is a video adapter which continuously read the memory to refresh the monitor's current display. There are other type of RAM, that is extended data out RAM, that is EDO RAM. They are early type of dynamic access memory chips, and the main feature of them was to eliminate wait time by allowing a new cycle to start while retaining the data output buffer from the previous active cycle. Now they are now being mostly replaced by the SDRAM and the DDR SDRAMs. Now SDRAM is another type of DRAM, or rather we should use the word that it is the synchronous DRAM, which is being designed to keep up with the bus speed of your fast processor. Now that means SDRAM waits for the clock signal before responding to the control unit, and they are being designed for two internal banks. Now that means one bank is getting ready to access while the other bank is being access the information. They are generally being used with the Pentium class of PCs. Nowadays we have double data rate synchronous DRAM. That is, generally if you go and purchase your system, you will be getting a RAM which is of type DDR SDRAM. Now DDR stands here for double data rate. That means it is advanced version of synchronous dynamic random access memory. The enhancement here is that the clock cycle which is being used by the CPU, here in this case both the falling and rising edges are being used for the purpose of transferring the data. So currently DDR4 version is in practice, which can transfer 16 consecutive words per internal clock cycle. If you can recollect, we have discussed that basically the word length defines the processing capability of the system. So 16 consecutive word per internal clock cycle which is being used by the DDR4 RAM. Now let me discuss about the ROM, read-only memory. Read-only memory is a non-volatile memory which is permanently stored. That means once these are being burned to the chip, then we cannot change the data. As the CPU can only fetch or read instruction from the RAM, we cannot write anything on it, and mostly they are available in small amount. Basically, the ROM is storing the special set of instruction. As what we have discussed, it may be to start up the system, or we can call it the boot up of the system. And unlike RAM, we cannot write fresh information into it. The content of ROMs are decided by the manufacturer and permanently stored at the time of manufacturing. Now, we have different types of ROMs. One is masked programmed ROM and another is user programmed ROM. The ROM in which contents are written at the time of IC manufacture are called masked programmed ROMs, whereas PROM, EEPROM and EEPROM are other kind of PROMs which are generally user programmable ROMs. If we talk about the programmable ROMs, they are more like your ROM, but they are being built blanked. Now, in the sense that only once they can be write on them by making use of PROM programmer or PROM burner. And after that, it will be acting as any other ROM. That means we cannot change the data after that. It is only once we can write this. So they were actually being used in earlier electronic typewriter where they are being changed based on the requirement. Also, to some of the earlier microprocessor systems, these chips were used, that is, with the time just before the delivery of the system, they can change and update the data on the chip. Now, if we just try to summarize the different types of these memories, so we discussed RAM, where it is read-write memory, which is volatile in nature, and electrically we can write and read data from that. And the other thing, important thing over there is that we can repeatedly use it. That means we can erase its data electrically. On the other hand, we have the ROM, which is read-only. It is non-volatile. That means we are not going to lose our data that is stored on it. They are masked. That means there is no possibility of erasing out data once written on it. Then we have PROM, programmable read-only memory. It is also read-only memory. It is also non-volatile, but it is electrically being written once by the manufacturer or the user. Again, once it is being written, we cannot erase the data from it. The other type of PROM is EEPROM, electrically programmable read-only memory. It is read-only, it is non-volatile, but here we can, by making use of UV light, we can erase the data and reuse these ROMs. And lastly, we have EEPROM. They are being again read-only, non-volatile, but they can electrically erase and rewrite a number of times and can be used most often with the equivalent to the flash drives that were what we are using nowadays. But the difference between the two is in terms of the semiconductor devices used in the flash drives are access fast speed. Thank you for this session.